Some call me nature. Others call me Mother Nature. I've been here for over 4.5 billion years. 22,500 times longer than you. I don't really need people, but people need me. Yes, your future depends on me. My oceans, my soil, my flowing streams, my forests. One way or the other. Your actions will determine your fate, not mine. I am nature. I will go on. I am prepared to evolve. Are you?
The clouds we see when we look out the window are important components of a complex global weather system. They play a key role in Earth's water cycle, carrying huge amounts of fresh water and dropping it as precipitation. And depending on their properties and where and when they form, clouds can have dramatic effects on our climate, influencing the locations and severity of floods and droughts, and even the temperature of our planet as a whole. So by understanding clouds, we can better predict severe storms, the global distribution of fresh water, and the course of climate change.
We shall propose further cooperative efforts between all the nations in weather prediction and eventually in weather control.
It lays the predicate and the foundation for the development of a weather satellite that will permit man to determine the world's cloud layer and ultimately to control the weather, and he who controls the weather will control the world. That will permit man to determine the world's cloud layer, and he who controls the weather will control the world.
Most rainmaking techniques used today originated back in 1946, when scientists discovered that by dropping particles of a chemical called silver iodide into cloud tops, they could trigger rainfall.
Then somebody accidentally put their hand in the pocket full of silver change and put that hand in the chamber, and bingo, there was a cloud.
The accidental introduction of silver dust offered the key, a tiny impurity around which water droplets begin to grow.
Texas, some people have grown tired of waiting for Mother Nature to bring relief and have decided to try and take matters into their own hands.
As a pilot going through school, you're taught to avoid thunderstorms.
This is Craig's job, firing chemicals into the clouds in a controversial attempt to modify the weather. He's literally a rainmaker.
The sun, beating down on tropical waters, powers the weather systems of the globe. Moisture evaporates from the warming ocean and rises to create great storms.
President Roosevelt and the Congress established the Tennessee Valley Authority in 1933 and the Rural Electrification Administration in 1935. The agencies shared the goal of bringing electricity to rural America, where only 10% of farms had power.
The TVA ostensibly began as a flood control effort by the Army Corps of Engineers, but it was quickly used as a way to find new sources of hydroelectric generation on the rivers of the area.
Dams were built, ultimately totaling 42 in the system, and a massive hydroelectric power project was launched, which grew to a total capacity of 4 million kilowatts by the 1970s. By this time, the mission of the REA and the TVA had been accomplished. 98% of all farms in the United States had electric service.
The water that you see coming out of the top of a cooling tower at a nuclear plant is very similar to the water that you would see coming out of any type of industrial facility.
In order to produce electricity, you've got to get the water so hot that it's super condensed steam. Well, you eventually have to cool it back down in order to bring it back up to create that electricity and that energy.
About 6,000 gallons per hour comes out the top of that cooling tower. That same condensation generally will rain out in the same watershed that we're creating. The amazing thing about all of this process and all of that electricity is it's completely clean. There is nothing coming out of the plant, there's nothing coming out of the cooling tower except pure water vapor. In fact, it's actually cleaner than when it came out of the river to begin with.
I hope this occasion will be an inspiration and encouragement to all who will continue this exciting enterprise here and elsewhere.
That cloud up there, which was generated by the engine, is just a mixture of hydrogen and oxygen. It's water vapour. It's raining! That's unbelievable! Oh. NASA's playing God! On Tuesday, or it might have been Monday, the government announced what it called a level 2 heatwave alert, okay? For what we used to call a lovely summer's day.
I can't understand why there are a group of people who just discount it completely. I just think, where's your brain? You know, how can our brains be so different? How can you not notice all the things that are changing?
So grows the waste problem. Nuclear waste is dangerous because it is radioactive. Too much radiation can cause cancer and birth defects.
We are not far advanced from where we were 20 years ago. We have not found a place to put nuclear waste. We have not settled on a specific design for disposing of nuclear waste. We do not know how much it's going to cost.
Well, we've been handling radioactive materials for 30 years. I'm sure we can handle them for hundreds and hundreds of years in the future.
Meanwhile, right now, at the government site at the Idaho Falls Engineering Laboratory, we can get an inside view of a small fraction of the waste that is piling up around the country. ERDA is digging up some recent mistakes. Plutonium, buried just 7 years ago with ordinary low-level waste, leaked out of its containers and seeped into the ground.
If, for example, in this country we found ourselves so power-hungry that we had to resort to an all-out nuclear program, I'm not proposing that, but it's something that could conceivably happen. You have a choice.
Those other considerations are taking their toll from the environment. Studies on animals and plant life at waste disposal sites already show a slight increase of radioactivity in fish, rabbits, and other wildlife in the area. It is safe to assume that as the quantity of waste increases, so will the contamination of the environment.
Activate multiple seeding rockets on course 116.
The hurricane has stopped moving toward the coast, but is still intensifying. It must be made to move northward and out to sea. This is a crisis.